come up through America, obviously. They came up elsewhere. And so having those guys play well for the national team is great, but it's not really indicative of how well our development system is going. With guys like Gedlin, there's an example. And
Yeah.
another great thing, which is kind of weird, because usually the notion is if someone's going to pay a ridiculous amount for the 150 minutes that he played in the World Cup, it's not a great sample size, and teams shouldn't do this. If they're being reasonable, they shouldn't overpay for DeAndre Yedlin. But there are a lot of unreasonable soccer teams out there who will definitely pay an unreasonable amount for DeAndre Yedlin. And you almost got to take that offer if you're MLS, but the other thing that you're trying to do as MLS is capitalize on the success of those guys, like Gedlin and Dempsey. You want to keep them, and Beasler and Gonzalez. Gonzalez, who, when he started against Germany, I was like, oh, Jesus, we're going to lose 5-0. And that didn't happen. He played great.
Fully agree. I was super concerned when he was put in, and I was like, oh, this is the worst thing we could do. But clearly he's come back from injury. You know, he's in good shape, and between Germany and Belgium, he had games of his career.
Yeah. And so MLS is kind of caught between a weird dichotomy where they could sell these guys for unreasonable amounts of money to European teams, or they could keep them, pay them more. Gonzalez is already getting DP money. Beasler's on his way. Yedlin's on his way. You guys don't really have a DP spot, but I hear Martins might be on his way out, so you might have one open up.
You watch your mouth.
Hey, that's just the rumors I'm hearing. And would you rather have Yedlin for, say, I don't know, $3 million a year, or Martins right now?
Can we make that decision at the end of the season? Can I have both?
No, because people are going to make offers for Yedlin right now. So your front office is going to have to make that decision right now.
Yeah, you're right, because God, Oba's looked so good this year, but you're right. If my choice is keeping Oba for the rest of the year and wondering what his age and health is going to be like over the next year or two versus keeping DeAndre Yedlin in the league and on my team for the next 3 years, then yeah, I'll take Yedlin every time, because we do still have Dempsey. Lamar Nagel's gotten better. Kenny Cooper's great off the bench. Barrett. I mean, we've got options. None of them are Oba. None of them will be a like-for-like replacement. But we would have to change our tactics. I mean, if you make DeAndre Yedlin a DP, you have to say we're building this team around him like we build it around Ozzie Alonso and Clint Dempsey. And suddenly you start looking at, is this a 4-3-3 team? Is this, where does he play? What are we doing? It does change the whole dynamic, but I still think that I take that over Oba, just knowing his age and health issues.
Now, speaking of 4-3-3 teams, my friend Daniel has joined us.
Hey.
He's a Dutch supporter.
Yeah.
They like to play the 4-3-3.
Yeah.
So I guess we'll break now. So Daniel, I can introduce you to what the hell we're doing.
Okay.
So
Thanks.
this is the podcast I do sometimes.
Nice.
You're Dutch, obviously.
Yeah, you could say that. I was born there.
Tell us about your soccer fandom and stuff, so Pete knows what to ask about.
Yeah, sure. Well, I know I started playing when I was 12, and I think it was around the 2002 World Cup when I started getting crazy into it. And it was after that when I started really watching English football and supporting Arsenal, because that was when Bergkamp played there. And being Dutch and watching that, I had to go side with that team. And it just really went from there. Ultimately, I think Henry was there too, doing amazing things. And yeah, that was really where it started. And then I've also gotten into the Dutch league. Since I lived there, I branched out. But the Dutch league is always so dirty.
In what way? Like foul-ridden, or just like
foul-ridden, like incompetent refs? It's all just. And I mean,
that sounds familiar.
Yeah, are you an MLS fan?
Yeah. I mean, it's cool though, because you have really small teams who play in little towns, and then they play Ajax in Amsterdam in enormous stadiums, and they're completely Well, they're not out of their league. They are legitimately in the league, but it looks totally ridiculous. And so that's always been entertaining because often you get like the little guys to upset teams like Ajax and Feyenoord. So
did you keep up with Josie while he was at Alkmaar?
no, not at all actually.
Uh,
Yeah, I never paid attention to what AZ did really. Only when they were, because I know they used to have Dick Advocaat as the coach, and that was when I was watching them.
that's
Once
like a famous Dutch guy, right?
Yeah, yeah, right. Yeah, he used to be the Dutch coach of the
Okay,
national
I
team.
have to ask, what the hell is going on with your hair? It used to be so big. Like
Oh yeah,
mine. What
no,
did
I
you do
got
to it?
I
Oh,
got
you
it
got a
back.
ponytail. I see. Okay.
It's too hot. It's too hot for that shit right now.
Oh,
It's like,
dude, tell me about it.
Yeah,
Daniel, it's like 70 degrees here in Minnesota. How is it hot in Iowa?
I don't know, but it is. It's weird. Midwest weather is not something I'm used to.
Okay.
Just
It's
storms
were you in
and
North Carolina though? It would be way hotter.
true, and
Just
I do the same there.
yeah,
Are
that's
you in Des Moines?
I'm actually in Cedar Rapids.
Oh, okay.
It's it's somewhere in Iowa. Honestly, I have no
Are
idea.
there actual rapids there?
There are actually. There's a river, the Cedar River.
Huh.
Yep, which is flowing rapidly and actually overflowing too.
Well, I gotta say, Daniel, I'm really glad to hear of your strong Dutch connections between your heritage and your living there, because I am the first guy that will call out Americans for supporting other nations when they have no connection. It just pisses me off to no end when you have a good product and a local option.
Did I tell you about the 4 17-year-old kids at the movie theater showing of this
Can I just ask, are we in the podcast? I have a
And
hard
we're
time.
we're sort of filtering in and out. I'll keep some of this. I will
Oh, so
delete other
you
things.
edit it
I
afterward.
edit it. Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah. All right. Cool.
Yeah. No one watches this live because otherwise it would be a mess.
It would be a
Right,
mess.
right. Okay.
Um, excuse me. So
But
yeah.
are you a pure U.S. supporter then, Pete?
Yeah. So I am. Even though I'm a little bit older than Ian, I am kind of the next generation of fan, which is that my interest in the sport started with the 2010 World Cup, and happened to coincide with the same summer that I moved to Seattle. So, I went from being like a serious hockey fan and a sometime NFL fan to watching the 2010 World Cup and really getting excited about it. And then just, a month and a half later, I was in Seattle, and a close friend from college days was like, "Hey man, you got to come to a Sounders game," and that was it for me. I mean, I've been a 4-year season ticket holder, and it was quick. So yeah, it's all American soccer for me. And the more that I got to understand the community and realize that there were people my age in my city that had never even been to fucking Europe that were like all about like, I'm gonna support, like I went to lunch last week, or maybe 2 weeks ago, just before the Cup started. And no, it was during the first games. The U.S. hadn't played their first game yet, but I think it was the day, opening day. So it's Brazil and Croatia, exactly. And I go to this little lunch cafe, go grab a sandwich, and the girl's wearing a Brazil jersey. And I know that she's American, and unless she's had some sort of travel, so I asked her, I'm like, "So Brazil, huh?" And she's like, "Yeah, man, they're my team." And I'm like, you know that your country's in the Cup, right? Like, I get it if you're Canadian and you're just going to pick somebody that's like, fun to watch, or maybe you like the style that they play, or you like their particular stars. Maybe you're in love with Neymar or whatever. But you live in America. You're
hot.
clearly American. We've had conversations before. What's the deal? And she's like, I like watching them, and the U.S. isn't very good. And that's what kills me. It's that attitude that exists in this country of like, I won't watch MLS because EPL is clearly better. Why would I watch an inferior product? I don't support the U.S. in the World Cup because I like the way that Italy plays. Like, it drives me up a wall. I get maybe being a dual supporter. I get, enjoying the English league because it's the highest, the peak of football. But it just kills me that that Euro snobbery exists.
Now, Daniel, as a Euro snob,
but with strong connections to what he supports, you know.
and to be fair, the 45 minutes of MLS that I made you watch, you were excited about. So.
Yeah, I was a little drunk too, but no, it was good.
Hey man, that's how we do it.
It was the second half. Actually, I tell this story a lot about the second half when I brought a Dutch guy over to watch the second half of New York versus DC, and sort of converted him, or at least made him say that MLS was pretty good. So.
I don't remember that, but okay. No, I do remember watching Henry in that game.
Yeah. Yeah, you remember when there was a free kick at the end that Henry could have taken, but Roy Miller took it instead?
Oh, yeah, he was such a waste, yeah.
And to think, Roy Miller went to the World Cup, and Henry did not.
Yeah, that's right. He's hung up his international boots.
Would he have made it?
Yeah, would France have taken him?
Because he was part of that French Revolution back 4 years ago, right?
Yeah, he's had some really bad World Cups too. Yeah, I mean, where everyone just sort of failed. Yeah,
I mean, he's also like he's old enough to only be a keeper in the World Cup at this point. Like,
yeah.
Well, when Cameroon made the quarterfinals in 1990, Roger Milla was 38.
That's Cameroon though. Like, I feel like the French talent pool is pretty big.
Yeah, that's true. You got to give the young guns a chance.
I mean, I look at teams like this is a close to home example for me, but like Colombia and Nigeria. Those teams have so much talent that they were able to pass up on guys like Freddie Montero and Obafemi Martins, guys that have a long history of scoring goals.
Yeah, Nigeria could have used Oba Martins though.
Yeah, they could. Yeah, they. I mean, hey, I'm happy. He's been here having what he called his own World Cup. And it's been fantastic. He's been just a machine. But no, Freddie Montero surprised me. You know, he goes and plays in Portugal and scores like, I don't know, 15 goals in his first 14 appearances, or just this insane tear. And he doesn't even go to the Colombian camps. Like, he's not even being looked at because they're that deep. You know, they have so much talent that a kid who's playing on a Champion League team is not a starting striker and scoring all these goals isn't even getting looked at because there's enough talent and depth. So that's what I want to see for this country. Back to your earlier point, Ian, is that choice between keeping the young stars here or taking the money to send them elsewhere. It's like what is better for the league? Is it better to keep them here and try to shed that idea of being a retirement or a development league, and keep them here and build the product here and have those, players like Yedlin who are getting all these sponsorships and getting noticed at the World Cup? Is it better to keep him here, or is it better to take the $5 million? Because in the crazy rules of MLS salary cap, single entity, we're only going to get, I don't know, 500,000 of the special allocation dollars, but we get like $4.5 million that we're allowed to use for academies and development and physio and all that stuff. Like, there's all these rules about what we can use that money for, and the majority of it isn't for player salary, it's for development. So is it better for the league as a whole and for the team to keep him here and have a great product and have a young rising star stay here, or to take the huge payout and put it into other young rising stars?
Yeah, it's an interesting question, and one that, Daniel, I'd like to get your perspective on, because I have my own biases on who I think played well on a national team based on who played in MLS and who didn't. You don't really have those biases, and you watch most, if not all, of our national team's games, right?
Yeah, I've caught most of them. Yeah.
So who are your like top 5 U.S. players this World Cup?
Dempsey is totally number 1.
Okay.
But he's not really a youth player these days anymore.
Yeah, but it's just in general.
But he was a really strong captain, and then Tim Howard.
Obviously.
Yeah, Tim Howard. Somebody should sign him, huh? Get him up to the top league.
How about all those memes about Tim Howard yesterday?
Yeah.
That was awesome, right?
I was glad to see how much love he got.
Yeah. Yeah, it was good to really see him perform well too after like he fell out of favor at United. Because I remember when he was like their big signing over the summer, and it was like, yeah, this American's gonna go play for Manchester United.
Yeah, that was a
But
big deal. That
yeah,
was
and,
a
Yeah.
big fucking deal at the
and
time.
but he just like I guess it was like in some cup somewhere where he like just didn't have it, and then he was totally just out of it with Sir Alex. But
And then he goes on to do great things at Everton. I mean, suddenly Everton moves from mid-table. Were they 4 or 5 this year?
5. They're in Europa League.
They
Oh,
finished
yeah.
5. Okay.
wow, that's crazy.
Yeah, man. So he was part of a revival for that team. That's incredible.
Yeah, and Yedlin too was really impressive.
Yeah, we were talking about him earlier.
That's amazing. That he can just
He-
come in on
he
that kind of
surprised all of us.
platform.
Guess how much he's making right now at Seattle?
This
Are
is
you-
gonna be good. Unbiased. This will be good.
Like three million?
He's making $92,000 a year at Seattle.
Wow.
$92,000 a year.
Wow, I was pretty off.
So he comes in under our homegrown rules,
Yeah.
meaning that he did not develop anywhere else. Like we were talking about with Julian Green and some of our young German Americans. He is purely an American product. Grew up in Seattle, went to high school here, was part of the Sounders Academy. Went and played at Akron, which is a great soccer school, and then we brought him back, and yeah, so he's still on a homegrown salary, which is $92,000 a year.
Just that. Wow.
And yeah, so just going to the World Cup, just being accepted to the team, like doubled his salary, because just making the team, you get like $100,000 bonus, and then
And making it out of the group is another big bonus.
huge. That's a
too.
big bonus for him. For the other guys, it's not that big, but for him, it was probably another double or triple of his salary. So he went from 92 to probably 400 this year just on his World Cup performance. And now he's going to make a stupid amount no matter where he goes, Seattle or otherwise. He's going to make a lot of money,
Which is exciting.
Yeah,
All right,
yeah.
so Dempsey, Howard, Yedlin, who's next?
Everyone was saying that dude, shit, what's the guy's name with Beckerman should have played. And what I saw in the other games, he looked really good.
Yeah, I loved Beckerman.
But I haven't really seen him enough to really gauge appropriately. And I don't know. Everyone's saying Josie would have been great, but I've never really seen him perform. But
He was the key to our offense. When he went down, Michael Bradley was sort of out of position.
yeah,
and so was Clint Dempsey.
Yeah.
We don't play Clint Dempsey as the lone striker up top, whereas in the Belgium game, as Matt Doyle called it, a 4-6-0. Yeah, it completely changed our strategy, especially, and that's when you go back and you look at Klinsmann and you look at the complaints about roster